So that brings us to the presentation of this year's Professional Freedom and Responsibility Award. Each year, our Professional Freedom and Responsibility Chair, Jean Criswell, invites nominations from our division members for a scholar, author, journalist, or activist from the city or area in which the conference will be held that embodies the spirit of professional freedom and responsibility for our division. So nominees have to be from that geographical area, and they have to have a long career and work that reflects our division's focus. Once nominations are in, the division votes on a winner. This year, the division voted to give this award to Dr. Vicki Meyer. Dr. Meyer is a professor in the Department of Communication and Associate Dean for Academic Initiatives and Curriculum, including Coronavirus Crisis Mitigation at Tulane University in New Orleans. She conducts community-engaged research on media industries, focusing on the political economy of media production, organizational work cultures, and audiences. Meyer's widely cited and influential books include Almost Hollywood, Nearly New Orleans, The Lure of the Local Film Economy, Below the Line, Producers and Production Studies in the New Television Economy, Production Studies, The Cultural Studies of Media Industries, and Producing Dreams, Consuming Youth, Mexican Americans in Mass Media. In this work, Meyer takes readers behind the scenes of the hidden and undervalued labor of the people who produce media content, as well as the vital roles that media production and reception play in constituting people's cultural, class, and community identities. This research has informed her work in the digital humanities, and in her teaching, her research projects, recent research projects include New Orleans Historical and Via Nola V. New Orleans Historical features historical stories and scholarship by and about New Orleans community members. And it was first published in collaboration with the University of New Orleans, but it is now available on the web and as a free downloadable app in Apple's App Store and Google Play. Via Nola V, which I hope I'm saying right, publishes content online and New Orleans culture in collaboration with journalists, students, and community partners. Meyer's approach to learning demonstrates how university knowledge production can be accessible, engaging, fun, and relevant to students and community members. Meyer earned her BA at Brown University and her MA and PhD at the University of California, San Diego. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Meyer to share her remarks. Congratulations, Dr. Meyer.
How do you follow that? My goodness. Thank you, Ruth. That was really nice. Let me see if I can manage to not screw up my screen share. And let's see. Let's see. Is that showing just the slides, or is it showing everything?
It's just showing the slide.
Fantastic. All right. And then I'm going to close myself. So I've been asked to talk for 10 to 15 minutes, and so I will abide by that, especially because I know we're all zoomed out right now. I really want to thank the Critical and Cultural Studies Division for AEJ. I think there's really deep irony in getting this award. Actually, I've had 2 legitimate news desk jobs in my career. Both were in the 1990s. The second one was in Duncan, Oklahoma, and that one I quit to go to grad school. The first one was at a suburban paper in Dallas, Texas. And on that one, I got fired. Well, I think the editor said something to the effect of, I might feel more comfortable at a place where I fit into the culture better. It was one of those places and times when all the news side of the house was male and all the advertising side of the house was female. I don't remember a single person of color on the staff, but I know that all the cleaners were Hispanic. I'd been covering racism at the time in the suburban police department, and that caused quite a stir until the editor asked me to stop. He told me it wasn't the kind of topic that people would want to read over their morning orange juice. And I think I started applying for graduate school, maybe a week after that. So I'd like to dedicate this award to also my Metro Crest news editor, Roger Kramer, who was right. I did not fit into the culture. And it's this question of fit that has intrigued me for much of my career. How do people fit into the cultures of media production? And what shapes those cultures? And why do people want to be part of them anyways? And briefly, I want to take this time to sketch out some thoughts about each of these. So much of my work has been studying people who don't fit in. Some people don't have the right body type for the work they do. For example, in this slide, only one of these people is a Tejano singer in San Antonio, Texas. Some people don't work in the respectable definition of their trade. I once studied film students who were aspiring to be Hollywood directors, but instead they were in the quarter of New Orleans filming softcore porn. They told me that even reality television would be better than the work they did at the time. And some people are simply invisible to academic studies of media. They might work in wiring even flatter and tinier TVs to fit our lifestyles, or they might be doing the work enforcing cable policy through local boards of volunteers. But manufacturing screens and regulating local cable franchises are two ends of the industry that were vital to what was being touted as the digital revolution. These communities bore the first blows of high-tech companies entering broadcasting. Through digital transformations, they tried to save local cultures built on multicultural production, female leadership, and public access. These local media contexts, which affect millions of people in places far away from media cities, got me thinking a few things. One, that the media's power rests in part in defining discourses of production, leaders, and the public. Who gets to be called a media producer is not just the person who worked their way up from the letter room. It's also the person who fit into the very closed, very Anglocentric, very cis masculine, very one percenter culture of the boardrooms, where the deals were made and the imagined audience were people just like them. About every 10 years, there is some outrage in Southern California about diversity and equity. But diversity and equity do not necessarily mean inclusivity to this exclusive culture. Some groups that have been excluded from the middle class mainstream are included in media production cultures, but they have to be able to pass. Think about Jewish people or gay men. Racism, sexism, and classism are problems in the industry, to be sure. Yet it is also the case that every work culture is exclusive. US Latino media cultures historically have excluded very Black or very white Latinos, as well as Latinos who do not sing, speak, or move in the right Spanish dialect. And this is why we don't see Brazilians on Univision. And no, Carmen Miranda does not count. It's not a hard border between who can be a media producer and who cannot be, but it's that certain people have to work harder than others to fit in, and some never have. Which raises the question, why do people want to be professional media producers? The work is hard, the hours are long. Media industries celebrate the young and abandon its veterans. There is no safety net when you get sick or injured on the job, at least not in the US. Payment is unstable or even stolen away if you consider the hours any professional puts into networking, self-promoting, and continuous skills building. Amateurs who buy into the dream of freelancing freedom find they also carry all the risks when they fail. Media industries have profited off their ability to bring surplus labor into their folds. This is another reason why it's good to study the people who do seek these risky media jobs, especially on the peripheries of these media industries. Media industries still promise, though, that hard work and talents are tickets to a good job. And that may be true, but only for a few. Meritocracy is mainly effective when an industry has a monopoly on all labor and stages of the production process. This means that media industries have to use a combination of ways to attract professional labor. One way is through volunteerism. Here in New Orleans, filmmakers never let a good crisis go to waste. I love this news story that I once found in the archives. It was about a film producer in the 19 teens who promised to make a donation to rebuild the burned down opera house, but only on the condition that Society Lady supporters would sit for a filmed scene at the Jockey Club. The women showed up in their finery for a day at the races. Almost 100 years later, the same spirit of giving and taking filtered through the city after Hurricane Katrina. Citizens who were rebuilding were asked to promote the city with free labor for quality films and television. Hundreds of people took off a day from work to sit at the fairgrounds as extras for the TV series Treme. The stunt at the Jockey Club, as well as the fairgrounds, had more or less the same result. After 6 hours in the sun, the society ladies quit and left for tea. And then some of the fairground festers did too, after they waited all day long in the sun for popcorn and a song. In interviews with some middle-class volunteers, they said they felt exploited by producers who said they were actually supporting the city's rebirth. It is the same politics of respectability that media industries use in requiring more education and credentialing from college students going into the notoriously fickle job markets. The more we find professionalism everywhere, from card playing to dog walking, the more media industries and universities will partner up in convincing kids why parents need to pay upwards the cost of a Mercedes each year just to become a writer. There's a school in New York that helps potential reality show actors play themselves better. As a counterpoint, there is also a budding cottage industry around scouting, developing, and representing YouTube talent. University degrees are signs of respectability for old guard media, but may not be for new media industries, which are busy making their own worker pipelines, org structures, and colleges too. Fellow professors, I'm sure you've been contacted to develop a TikTok class by now. Needless to say, our competition to educate the future micro-celebrity is already fierce and generally costs less than does a university lecture. And that leaves the question of what is shaping media production cultures. Market competition and geographic politics, or we might say market politics and geographic competition. The question of political economy is vital to understanding how media work cultures form and survive now through a pandemic. Market competition among media and communications industries are inseparable from regional politics. Jobs are the alibi for why industries can locate in a particular place with millions promised in subsidies. In this, the new communications titans, i.e. Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Alphabet, or the mafia, have taken a page from the Motion Picture Association playbook. They use the public's belief in good future jobs for free money today. From tax rebates to low-cost energy or land, and from new infrastructure to job retraining programs, regional governments fall all over each other to lure companies that might create some high-paid local jobs and attract a mobile executive class to settle in at least for a time. We need journalistic methods now to uncover the layers of greed and corruption behind those do no evil logos. And for their part, politicians and development officers are not dumbos. Years of national disinvestment in regions have left few good revenue options. Optimism spurs outside investment and local pride, something economists claim to measure as a multiplier effect. Politicians who work in continuous re-election mode also know that Google, Amazon, Sony, and Netflix are way more exciting to their constituents than a new Walmart or Exxon, which is precisely the effect of people seeking work in these industries. The race to the bottom to host these firms has the unfortunate impact of further stratifying public goods and services by geography and class. So I'm sad that we can't be all in the French Quarter right now, listening to a brass band on the street, enjoying a potent cocktail, and talking with pretty much anyone we meet. But I also think this vision of New Orleans has been ebbing away for decades. The crises of Katrina and Corona, which bookend my experiences, are only part moments in a long transformation of this place. And media workers are the bellwethers of these changes. They are the frontline workers for experience-driven economies. They are the most precarious in their abundance, and they will be the most creative in agitating for a better future because they get the job done. Thank you.